I came out of school, I wasn't too sure what I wanted to do. I found an apprenticeship for quantity surveying. But 18 and a half years in, it's been a journey.
Get yourself into a position where you can choose something that you know you're going to enjoy for many years, because you spend so much of your time in work. When I see apprentices coming in, there's so much opportunity to progress. Just grab it with both hands, and you can learn across all departments.
If you take on apprentices, over time, they're managers, they're directors, they're potential partners. It's a way to sustainably grow companies.
So, like you said, without apprentices and without, that investment at that level, the future would look very bleak.
Yeah. There's so many opportunities out there, and we just need people to understand where to find them. I think it's an incredible opportunity.
Today is my first double interview, and I'm absolutely delighted to be joined here by Sean McAvoy of CoreFive, an associate partner within the business, and our very own Karen Trainor, our Group Operations Director at Specialist Group. Today we bring a very special podcast in this special week of National Apprenticeship Week, where we are talking to two individuals that have come through the apprenticeship route to where they are today in their current senior roles. Hopefully, this will benefit both the young people looking in at apprenticeships, it'll benefit our communities and our industries in areas where we have much needed skill shortages. Thank you. Both Sean and Karen began their journeys as apprentices and have progressed throughout their career to the senior positions today that they hold. As we're celebrating National Apprenticeship Week, it's great to feature Sean and Karen and to find out what the benefits that they have been brought to themselves through this journey and what benefits they believe have been brought to business through this journey. So Sean, would you like to give our listeners a little bit about you and your story and your background?
Yeah, no, thank you. So I joined the industry just over 18 years ago. I came out of school, I wasn't too sure what I wanted to do. I found an apprenticeship for quantity surveying. I had a few interviews with some large QS practices. I eventually was employed by Cyril Sweet at the time, joined as a trainee cost manager, worked my way through the business. I did 2 years of college part-time, so 1 day release in Lewisham, and then I did 5 years at London South Bank, again 1 day per week, to get my degree. After that, I did 1 year of APC, so to become chartered. So I was chartered after 8 years. I was 27 years old. I'd worked up to senior cost consultant by that point. My experience in that time was quite varied. I joined the fit-out team. I worked on some frameworks for some banks. I worked in the heritage sector, some projects at the Houses of Parliament as well, and some leisure projects as well. I stayed at Cyril Sweet as we became Sweet Group, and then we were bought by Curry and Brown. So all in all, as that part of the business, I was there 12 years. And then 6.5 years ago, I took the decision to move to CoreFive at associate level, specialising in corporate fit out, how I've met yourselves, and haven't really looked back since. It's been some really major global clients, some really interesting projects as well. And so 18 and a half years in, it's been a journey.
And Sean, you mentioned there that when you left school, you took 2 years and a 1 day release, and 5 years, and then you done a following year to get a chartership.
Yeah.
By 27 years of age, you would have been in relatively no debt. You probably started the journey of life long before that.
Yeah, so it was obviously the companies that I worked for picked up the university fees, which was very useful. I lived at home up to 26, bought my first place at 20 and late 26, I think. Yeah, no debt. That was one of the key advantages of following the apprenticeship route. And then to have 8 years experience going into your chartership is, invaluable. There's so much experience and knowledge that you can fall back on. If you don't know, the APC is a 1 hour interview supported by a document that you issue before. And you are questioned on that for 50 minutes after a 10-minute presentation. So to have so much experience to the scenarios that they could ask you about just made it such a more, I wouldn't say comfortable because it's a very high pressure situation, but manageable situation to get chartered.
Yeah,
Very good.
very good.
At this point in the conversation now, Karen, we're going to go over to you
Yeah.
and ask you to tell us a little bit about your journey.
Yeah, very similar in the sense, I studied A levels at the local secondary school, and just never had thought that university was for me. Grades wise were fine. Like I know I could have gone on to university, but it was just the fact that there was nothing that I seen that was fitting or that I really knew that was for me at that point. So I had basically got my A level results. There was a local company that I'd always known of. I actually studied them for business studies. And I knew the family, so I had gone to school with obviously these boys, and it was just like the job opportunity that came up in that summer. Obviously then your daddy was looking for someone then to join the accounts, join the finance function, and you were going in at that level of bookkeeping, and that's how it started. So I basically worked full time, and then started a HND in business, which meant you were really travelling to Marfell for 2 evenings per week. So you were doing like stints of 3 years, 2 evenings after your day job. Got my HND and then followed that in with a degree then in business and finance at the university. But like you say, the experience that you gain in the workplace, it lends itself so well to what you're studying, obviously, and you get to see the bits that are going to be really useful for you. But you're absolutely blessed with the people that you meet and the time that they give you when you're coming in at the age of 18 with relatively little experience in the world of business. Like simple things like, how to type letters, how to lay them out, things that you don't really learn at school, So blessed with the people that took the time and put that energy into you. So basically stayed in finance for 12 years, had a great mentor in Sean McAvoy, who was our finance director, and then progressed from there alongside yourself, obviously, into a more production operations role. And I like that. We've built factories, we've moved into new markets, we've built the team, and lots of them have become like family, like friends that you have now for 20 years now. I'm in Specialist 25 years this year, coming in August. So there will be, there will need to be like some sort of silver watch or gold watch. I don't know what you would do to that, Sean. But I 25 years looking back, like it's so like when I see apprentices coming in, I'm just like, they don't know the opportunity that they're getting. I probably didn't appreciate it when I was that age. But to see now the facilities in place and the team the experience that sits within the team, and to know that they're giving their time and their energy to our young people, I'm just like, just grab it with both hands, because there's so much. And you tend to talk more, I guess, about the business you're in because that's what your experience has been. But there's so much opportunity to progress. And you can learn across like all departments. You can move across all departments. That has been the journey. It's 25 years on. It's Group Operations Director of Specialist, which is
I think just on one of your points, I think the evolution for how companies can support apprentices now compared to when we started out, they're much more set up and geared to support younger people and give them training from the off, whether it's in our side, it's getting them used to terminology, phrases, things they're going to hear around the office, procurement routes, those sorts of things. We give them forums every month focusing on a different element, and they just get comfortable about what's going on in the office, but also we try and get them out to site so they can see all these things as well. And it's, as opposed to when I started, it was kind of trying to keep up all the time. They get a chance to get ahead because they might learn something before they come across it in the real world at that point. So I think companies are a lot more proactive now in supporting apprentices.
I think it's been a learning process for companies too.
Definitely.
Because in each year, I think we all get better at it. We put a different structure in place, to help, because as you learn and as a different group of apprentices come in, their needs are different. So you learn to cater for that. And it's all about retention at the end of the day. So any way that we can change what we offer in the business, then that's what we need to be thinking of.
Definitely.
So, Karen, now you were explaining the journey started at sort of 18, in the company and the finance, moved your way on through operations and so on, and you did good mentors and so on along the way. How did you what made you make that decision to move rather than go to university, potentially go down this apprenticeship route? What was your driver behind that?
Think like that, being at the age I was, I'm not being able to put myself in a box of I wanted to be a teacher. You know, I see university as very much something that if you're going down a specific route, I wasn't ready to make that choice at that age. And coming into specialist, the business was of a size that I knew I was going to get experience across a broader range of things. So yes, I came into finance, but because of the size of the business, you got to get involved in health and safety, more admin duties, sales. You know, you were connected with every different department at that stage. So you just knew that the learning was going to be broader, and you got to do pieces of all of that. So I think I definitely wasn't in a place to put myself in a box and say, I've always said, like now I say it to our own boys, you know, get yourself into a position where you can choose something that you know you're going to enjoy for many years, you know, because you spend so much of your time in work.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably what led me to just not, yeah.
So you really like you choose something where you seeing potential in for yourself and potential in a growing development company that, you know, I'm going in there to the finance office, but I'm sure you didn't potentially know that you'd finish up. You finish up.
No, I definitely not. I've always loved numbers. So obviously the fact of ending up in finance was, you were very settled, loved the numbers, loved the structure, you know, loved that it was a job done, you know, when you produced that set of accounts. And that was learning. So, you know, you start off with your invoices in and out, and then you're doing the wages, and then you're doing the management accounts, and, you know, then you want to know more about tax, and you want to know more about the workings of the business. So it's give you a nice all round, and plenty still to learn. You know, you're learning every day. So it's but yeah, it's been, she said, it's quite the journey.
Yeah.
Would you
Quite the
say
journey.
accounts taught you a lot of disciplines within life and within the business to progress in the other areas? Because quite regimental
I
accounts.
think working to deadlines, you know, you don't miss.
Yeah.
If you have a payment run, you don't miss it. You know, you'll be, your valuation
Valuation's the same, yeah.
you know, and that, the level of commitment that you need to get that job done, it doesn't matter what else came at you that day. You knew you couldn't not miss that deadline. So I think that has been good. And the responsibility of dealing with, obviously, the funds that are there that are the lifeblood of the business, you know. So you take that on as you're growing, and you know the importance of that. So just you have to take it very serious from a young age. So yeah, it teaches you to have that responsibility and accountability.
Sean, over to you. Like, what was the core reason for you deciding to go to university, go down the apprenticeship route?
So similar enough to Karen in the first instance, I wasn't ready to decide. I was thinking a few different career options, and schools at the time were very much UCAS points, UCAS applications, and I didn't want to make a decision that I'd have to sit with and then think 6 months down the line, or once I was into it, this isn't for me. So I actually took a little bit of a break. Apprenticeships at the time, all I knew of was what they would say in terms of getting people into maybe being plumbing or electricians. There was no real push for apprenticeships in the role that I'm in now. I actually went to a careers fair at the Excel Centre in London with one of my friends, and there was a booth for the Chartered Surveyors Training Trust who would support you in finding a career. And they had a list of companies on their books that they would arrange interviews with and give you interview training. So they'd help you prepare. And I actually spoke to them, had a really good, interesting conversation with their representative, and applied. And then it was probably a 6-month process. But in that 6 months, I took the opportunity to actually explore more about what quantity surveying was. Because like yourself, I like numbers. It
makes sense.
Yeah, well, most of the time.
We try to make them sense.
Yeah, so
Like it was to come out in the face.
we like different numbers, I think. But I find them quite therapeutic, and just going through the whole process. And I got some days on site with some family friends who just said, come down, have a look. And I started to appreciate it's not a job that you're sitting down all day either. So for me, that was quite important. I didn't want to be essentially tied to a desk all the time. The opportunity to go out on sites, to go to do valuations all around the local area. And then since my career's obviously evolved, country or Europe as well, It's there was so much more to it than I really appreciated before. And then I started to think there's so much variety that this is something that I could actually get on board with, to learn a little about a lot of things and to try and use a whole skill set and develop my whole skill set as part of that. So that was the main driver, I think.
And what would you say, Sean, are the main benefits for the companies employing apprentices today and back then?
I think more so today, in terms of, you find companies take on a larger intake because they have it set up in a much better way to support them. But they see it as an investment, and that investment ultimately should pay back, because if you take on apprentices and you're going to help them train for 4, 5, 6 years to get to where they want to be qualification wise, you would hope that they had show a degree of loyalty, they've enjoyed it, they've stuck around for a reason as well. And then over time, yes, they're coming in 18, 19 years old, 20 years down the line, they're managers, they're directors, they're potential partners. So it's the long-term view of the companies. And I think it's a way to sustainably grow companies as well. And it's not to say that every apprentice is going to work out. Some don't. That's a fact of life, I think. But with the right setup, it's so beneficial for the companies to try and plug what's essentially, in our role, a bit of a skills gap at the moment, and a skill shortage.
Yeah.
And it's a long, slow way of doing it, but I think it's the right way to do it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I would agree. Yeah. I'm not big into sports, as you both probably know, but at home we're a small community, and the football team for 20 odd years was very, very good, winning everything, but they didn't put the investment into the young. And now I've watched them, and they put sort of starting off at underage 4s,
Yeah.
under 6s, under 8s, under 10s, and so on. And now you can start to see that. But it's taken a long time to change that curve.
Yeah.
From Palahi was a massive winning team way back in, I think it was 97, but don't quote me on that. was the last time they won at senior championship. And then it's kind of like, now they put the investment into the young from the children's age right up.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we're saying here. It's different. Like, we've got a skill shortage. We had a winning team for years. We were the top of what we did here in the Western world. And then probably that winning team there has lost its energy and so on. And we've left a bit of a gap.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I think we're finding just a lot of the people that are coming through, because there's so much more spoken about apprenticeships, the young people know what they're walking into as well. It's a lot of them, it's their first time in an adult environment. But we don't treat them as children when they come in. You treat them as an adult, and they respond as an adult. We find they take a lot of responsibility for what they're doing, they're learning. It's a lot of remote learning. So as a business, we can support them on their journey as well. We have the resources for them if they're doing assignments, that sort of thing. So it's a really good mutual benefit, I'd say.
They're both the apprentice and the business.
Yeah.
You, Karen, what's your thoughts on the benefits that the business gets out of the apprenticeship routes, and even for the apprentices themselves?
Yeah. I think there's an energy comes with bringing young people into any business. And I think if everyone's bought into this is a vision of the business, and it's something that we need for that longevity, then what you have, you've people that really thrive in sharing of knowledge. So equally they get as much out of that as they do from their day-to-day job. So like you said, it without apprentices and without that investment at that level, like the future would look very bleak. And that's across all, I believe that's across all the industry and all industries, and it is a huge investment. So like that, I just see it. We have apprentices that are actually adding value from the day they come through the door. Gone are the days when an apprentice was set till like a simple, I'm not going to name it, but like a very simplistic job that they were just caught up in that for weeks on end. You're really placing them in positions where they're adding value, and you should be getting reward as a business from that, be it monetary, be it in the community, be it with your education partners, whatever. It's all happening from day one.
I think that's a really good point as well.
The energy that the young people bring. I like to class myself as young myself. I'm in the early 40s, but young people do bring in a different energy, different ideas.
Technology as well. They're very technologically savvy. We have some apprentices that come in, and the things they can do on Excel and to make things more efficient for the business. And
it's very much a two-way learning.
We give them the platform to make proposals, bring ideas to the table, because you have to evolve. You have to keep evolving. So
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Skill shortage is a big topic, like across all industries. Whether we're dealing with doctors or nurses or plumbers or joiners or quantity surveyors, or it doesn't seem to matter, engineers. Skills is a big problem. And I think what I'm hearing from you two is that we're fairly much agreed in the room that one of the ways to bridge that gap is through apprenticeship routes and learning on the job.
I think it starts even before that, though. I think it's, I'm not sure. I guess like that, all schools will be different and all groups of pupils will be different. But I think for them to understand what's available in companies around them or in companies further afield, like we could list out 20 apprentice programs that would be suitable for to sit within specialists. But if you were to go to any of our local schools, I'm not sure that they could name all of them. So I think there's an awareness that needs to be created there before we get into the position of what do we do with you now when you're through the door.
Yes. So as businesses, and I know we've been on this journey for 3 years now, Karen, there's still a fair bit to do. It has made steps in the right direction, but it would be right to say there's a fair bit for business and education to do to come a bit closer together, a wee bit more aligned.
Yeah.
So
I think we're finding it's sometimes there's a third party that bridges that gap. We work alongside the Construction Youth Trust since 2022, and they raise awareness of the construction industry and the diversity of the roles in there to, I would say, underrepresented people in the industry. So we look at a lot of inner London, and as a business, we've taken 2 trainees on through the Construction Youth Trust, but we also offer work experience. We go in and help them with CV writing, interview performance, all that kind of stuff. And quantity surveying might not be the role they're interested in, but they're project management, engineering, like you say, we're trying to introduce them to the sector, and then they can see how their skills align to the roles that are out there. So I think there's a lot of third parties that are
instrumental.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think the work experience there that you touch on, we would do that, but factory tours where you bring in groups from the schools and allow them to see all the different roles within the business. But we touched on something, I suppose, before we sort of started here, about you have to be in a place to take it in.
Yeah.
So, you need to be that student that's walking around there that's really interested. And, we would get feedback. Like we'll have asked them for feedback, and some of them would like to see more of the intricate design, maybe more time on the factory floor. There's only so much you can show them within an hour slot.
Yeah.
But a work experience and a better structured work experience, I think, is key.
Yeah, like you said, I think you mentioned before as well about rotations. I mean, it's different for us. We would rotate them maybe through sectors and see what kind of projects, but for yourselves as the business as well, you've got so many different roles, but they might really fall into the finance side, or they'll fall into the more practical side. But they had the opportunity to do that.
Very much so. Yeah.
Speaking of our own business, Karen, although we have a sort of an academy, not a sort of, we have an academy.
Yeah.
And it's fair to say that it's kind of marketed as like a joinery role, but it's
wider than that.
Right now, it's not
I think it's bigger than that. I think naturally people hear specialists for a joinery company, so it's joiners. We talk about wood engineers now. We talk about joiners that progress, like you need to read a set of drawings, like all the technical skills that need to form part of being a joiner.
Yeah.
If you're a wood machinist, you're dealing with CNC, you're dealing with programming, you're looking for quality, it's more than just, it's never been just press a button and here we go. But like that, I think we have a job to do ourselves in spreading that net wider, where we offer the higher learning apprenticeships.
Yeah.
And like that, we've started the year that we're in, and some of our apprentices that potentially will end up in other office roles have started in the academy, because we recognise the need to have joinery knowledge before you'll start to estimate a job, before you maybe even market a job, before you'll move into design.
Yeah.
So it's evolving.
It's the fundamentals, and then
fundamentals.
Yeah.
Foundation. Yeah. But as I said, it's like it's getting that sort of knowledge out there of this is what's available.
I think because it's, again, specialist roles. When we started ours at CoreFive, it was very much focused on MEP surveyors because obviously they're like gold dust in the industry. To be fair, there's a skill shortage, but then even with MEP, it's even more pronounced. So that's how ours started. I mean, this year we've taken on 8 throughout the business, as well as supporting in our Birmingham office, have been working with local T-level students as well to give them an introduction to it as well, just to see how they feel they're going to fit in and where they see they can fit in as well.
I do think one of the things we all got, and a young, suppose, I'm not sure what for you it was like, Sean, but over the last, when we started in our business, it was a much smaller business. So Karen touched on, you could do a bit of everything.
Yeah.
And you almost were like through in the position of you sink or swim kind of conversation. There wasn't a lot of training, as in focused training.
Yeah.
But there was an awful lot where it was about learning you how to feed it or to fold the drawings.
Yeah.
There's an awful lot of that one on.
Yeah.
In your daily work.
I feel like I'm talking more about what we could do better rather than what we, but I think we're naturally there in our day to day.
Yeah.
It's always about what could we improve rather
Yeah.
than sitting on here selling our apprenticeship. So like I'm thinking about, see, as we're talking, see that rounded approach. If you took the view what we've all just talked about there, in the sense that we got to experience different things.
Yeah.
Surely why would you not be considering that now in the current structure? So
Yeah.
how you get
More awareness of it.
more awareness of that. So we did a day in the life before,
Oh yeah.
a day in the life where we would have let people experience what it was like to sit in Sean's chair for a day, or not in your chair if you're moving about.
No. Yeah.
But
Follow me around.
I do think there's definitely an element of that would be useful.
I think we definitely try that with the work experience because you're trying to get so much into a week. You don't want them to be just sitting measuring or doing comp checks.
Yes.
Because then that's what they'll see is, oh, it is just counting bricks, which is what the old story was. But no, we're out to site, we're out to meetings, we're meeting contractors, subcontractors, clients, project managers, and we're having maybe the same conversation, but you're having it in a different format
way.
with everyone.
Across sectors.
Yeah, exactly. So it's
you start with the real, we start with the ground roots of, I meet you in the corridor and I can lift my head and say hello.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, that's the thing.
And you step on from that to, hello, my name is, I work in this role, this is why I do this role. It's all about building people's confidence.
Yeah. I think that has to be led by the people that are in the senior role, because it would be it's intimidating for the apprentice to, I mean, we know you, so it wouldn't be, but if they were walking past and, oh, there's the boss, like, I better keep my head down, as opposed to the boss saying, oh, hi, welcome, haven't seen you around, but what team you're in, or getting to know a bit about them. So we're very proactive in trying to welcome people to the business as well. I think we always do the batch that come in every year, we'll sort out a social, and they'll obviously all be there themselves with their peers, but we'll have partners there, we'll have associate partners there, associates, and just we'll work the room and just see how everyone's settling in, what team they're in, how they found their first week or first few days, whenever the event is. And just, I think it just makes everyone realise they're all human, everyone's approachable.
We find the breakfast we do with a group of apprentices, you're all sitting around a table, and they're all there having a chat and hearing a little bit about what they did at the weekend, or it leaves that openness for communicating. Then when you meet in the work situation, then
they're suckers for free food, aren't they?
We all love free food.
Yeah, I know.
I love a bit of free food. Yeah.
But it's good to get to know the person as well.
Yeah,
I think it's very important to know the person.
Yeah.
Because then at the same time, in our roles, we have a duty of care as well.
Yeah.
And if we see a change in them or something, we can pick up on it and just pull them aside and just say, is everything okay?
And equally recognising skills that exist they brought to the business that you don't realise it's there until you're in that conversation.
Yeah.
So it's useful.
Yeah, you're touching on the sort of breakfast with the senior team sort of stuff.
Yeah.
As we're sitting here now, I'm thinking like we probably need to
widen the net.
Go into that a wee bit deeper.
Yeah.
I do think it's great from the sociable piece where you can give people the confidence to break down that barrier of she's the boss or he's the boss.
Yeah.
It's not about that. I always believe if you have to tell someone you're a boss, you're not in the first place. You probably shouldn't be on the job. Because it's something that just comes with that. But that's quite a good idea that has come out of the whole thing.
Yeah.
So Basically, guys, the purpose of this podcast is to inspire people, inspire other industry leaders, is to inspire education system, inspire young people thinking about what they might do at 16 or 18 years of age, or some of them don't know what they're doing until they're 23, and then they decide, well, the path I've taken is not where I want to go.
Yeah.
So it's all about inspiring. And I always say in the podcast, if we make one person's life slightly better, or there's one wee nugget of information that we have collaboratively discussed here today that could help someone on their journey, then we're winners. So that's not about anything else other than really trying to help. And I think by you sharing your experience, Sean, you can it's a testament to what the last sort of 20 years has done for you in your lives. And you came through a particular journey. I'm hearing from both of you that, well, would you change the journey you've come through?
I wouldn't.
I wouldn't.
No.
Certainly not. And you know, you can put it down to this. Obviously, there's lots you could talk about at this stage of your experiences and relationships, but it's, you know, go back to that 18-year-old. You know, the debt that could have came with going full time. You know, the route in life. Like, I was ready. Obviously, I was finishing out my degree, and within a month, I was getting married and moving into my house, our house. Like that wouldn't likely have been the case had I gone to uni. So there's so many decisions that would have been different, but equally, I wouldn't change it. And I think to tell anybody now at that age, it's a great route to go. It's a great route. It's better now than it would have been, obviously, 25 years ago. Probably to a point we didn't call it an apprenticeship.
No,
So you were getting a
it was.
junior,
Yeah, it was just a trainee.
a trainee or a junior now. But there's so much more infrastructure has been built around it now. It's a great opportunity.
So I know it's not for everybody. Like,
Yeah.
there's different routes for different people that go to different jobs, and we need all of them to make it all work. But if you were giving advice today to a 16-year-old, an 18-year-old, a 23-year-old, straight from the heart, straight from the hip, Sean, what would that be?
So if they had started an apprenticeship, or if they were in a company, grow your network. Take every opportunity that's given to you to go to events where you'll be with your peers. Your peers are going to come through with you. You're going to be they're going to be the managers of tomorrow. They'll all be working collaboratively. They're going to be in our role, contractors. They're going to be with project managers, subcontractors. You need to know all these people, and you just need to just build on that from the beginning. The other thing I would say is, don't be afraid to ask what you think is a stupid question, because I can guarantee from experience, I've had it many times when I was coming through. I've sat in meetings as the apprentice or the assistant and thought, I really want to ask this question, but it sounds a bit stupid, or I don't want to come across as stupid or uninformed. And then maybe a director from another company would ask the question. And then I sit there and think, oh, it was actually a relevant question. But don't be afraid to ask the question that you think you might be a bit too embarrassed to ask. And don't be afraid to ask for help.
Yeah.
Because we're all here to help. That's why we're in the positions we are, because people were there to help us as well and help us through. And the next best thing we can do is help and give it back a bit as well.
What better legacy to leave?
Yeah.
That you have, that you have shared that knowledge, or you have someone now that you've seen coming through as an apprentice.
Yeah.
And to see them develop them.
Yeah. I see it more in terms of, like, they've been, a lot of the apprentices that started when I was at Sweet Group are now getting chartered. They're working in America, Australia, the Middle East, and I still remember most of their first days and the sort of naivety and freshness and rawness of them, but they had the desire. They wanted to learn, and they've just taken off. And it's so good to see. And then you only hope that then they'll give it back, and most of them do. If I'm supporting people for their APCs, I can normally pick up the phone and say, I need a bit of help with a mock exam or something. I'm more than happy to help. So it really is a good legacy, actually.
Yeah.
And you can hear from you, Sean. It's not just about the job for you. You get it. You want to leave something behind.
Yeah, definitely.
That comes through quite evident in yourself too.
Yeah, like that. Do you know, you can't help but, you know, when you see a young person that's come in and they're delivering a project or they're doing a presentation and like you're proud.
Yeah.
Do you know, you're proud. Like you have to be proud of what you do, proud of your work. But when it lends itself to looking around the team and saying like, and just feeling that pride in what they're doing and that sense of seeing how they're developing, you know, I think there's no better feeling.
It's quite scary sometimes to see that, well,
We all
they've
think
come
we're
so
young.
far. Exactly,
We
yeah.
all think we're
I was just going to statistics and saying like we all keep telling these young people we are the young people. It's a younger generation, I think.
Yeah, I think that's the piece you realise. Like times there's conversations and decisions that happen in the business, and you find yourself looking at each other, looking at that senior team. You're like, this is now a decision that we need to make. Like when we come into the business, we weren't involved in that.
Yeah.
We were on the peripheries.
Sometimes you have a feeling of how did we all get here?
How did we all get here?
Just on that, I'm going to ask actually your question to you, Karen. I think I did ask it earlier on, but just for clarity, did you ever feel that you would be in this position that you're in today as Group Operations Director? Like that wasn't it? Was that ever an ambition?
I don't feel I fell into my role at all. Like you kind of built on it and then sort of probably moved through it as you performed, really. But I didn't set out to aspire to be like, were you set out to be chartered?
Yeah.
I never set out to
We've
be
got very
like
clear milestones, and there's always a target after chartership. Then whatever, like, I understand what you're saying.
You know what I mean? So how you kind of communicate that, I suppose the answer is like I never dreamt that I would end up in the role I'm in today.
I suppose the pieces for someone listening today, if you're 16 years of age, is like you picked a path, but you picked a path to a route to industry that taught levels of accountability, responsibility, education around numbers, and through the experience of that business, then your path wasn't 100%. That's what I want to do, but a lot of skills are
transferable skills certainly, but it's probably, considering I didn't have a path or maybe didn't set out with a goal to achieve where I'm at today, it's probably more testament to the business where when they've seen performance or they've seen something, they've seen something in how you're performing, how you're working, that it's been rewarded, and I think that's something we're particularly strong at, and probably like that, there's examples of it all throughout the business where people have progressed, and it's more testament, I think, to being recognised, and like that's something that I never dreamt would happen, but equally I'm really enjoying it, and think it's a fairly good fit, but still learning every day.
We're all in, and I think that's very fair of you to say, but I will, as being involved in the same business, I believe that yes, the business can create opportunities and the business can support people delivering opportunities. But speaking specifically to yourself, unless that person isn't going to grasp the opportunity to move forward. So yes, it was good that you were recognised throughout the company, Karen, but I do believe that you brought more to the table. We all we did was create the opportunities as a business. And it takes the people then to grasp them opportunities and move forward with them.
But I think
it's a testament to yourself and yourself.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I think it's apprentices and people being individuals, not being afraid to push themselves a little bit harder. And it's not always time. It's not always the person that sits on at night or is if they're being out there in the morning certainly demonstrates a commitment. But I think just being willing to do that little bit more.
Go the extra mile.
Go the extra mile is a better way of putting it.
Yeah, sometimes it's taking an extra 10 minutes just to make something look more presentable for a client on our side, or just to make sure everything's aligned, etc. Those sorts of things. And
those are the bits. It's like delivering a project. We talk about the last 5%.
Yeah.
And the people that can stick with it to deliver that last 5% are the people that really stand out.
Yeah.
And you can do it as an apprentice. How tidy your work is when you leave. That you've asked, is there anything else I need to do here? Is there anything, or even asking for more? Is there, because you're interested in something, like those things really show up. Tell your manager or tell others as being, that's something I want in my team.
We find quite a lot of trainees, apprentices, even our grads. If someone asks, has anyone got time for this? a lot of people put their hand up now. Whereas in the past, sometimes, and it'd be maybe even senior people who are charged might shy away from it
Yeah.
because they just want to come in and do the job. But these younger people are very keen to learn and just push on.
Yeah.
Like you say, I think in the past it used to be if you were in early and you were leaving late, but you felt like that's enough because it's being seen. But what are you doing in that
What are you
time? It's what are you
Yeah.
delivering? It's all about delivery now, and it's about just elevating yourself
Yeah. Yeah.
in the right way as opposed to being
So,
visible.
and that's on the apprentice
Yeah,
themselves. That,
definitely.
you know, you have to take that responsibility
Mm.
from day one again, you know, because it's not a given like you become an employee. It's not a given that you're going to complete your apprenticeship
Yeah.
and have a lifetime employment. You know, you really need to be stepping up the game
Yeah.
too. So
Very interesting, the whole thing. Now, as a fit-out industry, which we all three of us belong in or work in, more so than belong in, what do you think the main challenges was? What are the biggest challenges within the fit-out industry today, as in 2025?
I think since post-COVID and the way people use offices has changed, there was the whole outpouring of COVID where people were going to work a lot more remotely, and now we're seeing a lot of major companies pushing people to get back into the office. So in order to do that, the office has to become a destination that people want to go to. So the use of space is changing quite a lot. There's more flexibility in the offices. I think one of the other things is supply and demand and availability of labor. There is a shortfall in labor in some key packages, and even things like joinery, you've only got so much capacity based on your work, based on your factories. And if there's so much joinery that's going to be churned out because people are looking for those wow factors in their office to attract people, but you can only deliver so much at a time. So it's the availability and the resource, and then the cost of materials as well. We're finding it's a challenge, and we're up for the challenge.
Every challenge comes with
Yeah,
opportunity.
exactly.
Yeah.
We think laterally. We work with people like yourselves to look at ways to streamline on costs and make things more efficient and make sure the client still gets what they want at the end of the day. I mean, we've delivered some great projects together, so
Yeah. Yeah.
it's definitely there. But I think it's the sustainability aspect as well. Some of it's becoming tenant driven. Tenants want to move into the space that's net zero or more efficient or has occupancy sensors so that they're not wasting energy. And it's sometimes developers or landlords having to put in the infrastructure. So it becomes a challenge in existing buildings. But again, we're getting through it and it's becoming more widespread. But when it was first coming out, it was more of a learning curve, and now it's just, again, the more people that want it, it's supply and demand.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you think it's something, Sean, the sustainability bit, which, look, it's a bit like mobile phones came in 20 odd years ago.
Yeah.
One or two people had one, now everybody has one. Some people carry two for some unknown reason beyond my belief. But like sustainability's been in conversation now for about 10 years. It would be my opinion that it has potentially grown a lot of legs since after COVID.
Yeah.
Rightly so. But from your perspective, do you think it's something that the end user is willing to pay for yet?
I think we're at the stage where we're finding a lot more it's the developer landlord are willing to pay for it because it attracts the end user.
Okay.
There are elements where we, as a landlord developer, they can install up to a point, and then the tenant will have to come in and do their final fitting, second fix, etc. We do find some tenants do that. We've had some major clients, global clients, who are really pushing it, and
Right, isn't it?
yeah, and they are adopting it. I think some of the smaller tenants, it's a big investment. And it's not only the investment of installing, it's the investment of keeping it up and actually using it to be beneficial.
And I think we're all about, and even when you start the conversation, like you're conscious that you're promoting it and equally not shutting it down because there's not affordability. But I think we have a responsibility as contractors to start putting options on the table that are either cost neutral or certainly not a V. It's going to be cost neutral or it's going to be more, you know, but I think we have a responsibility to go want to satisfy our customers at the end of the day. So it's
carbon now. A lot of people are concerned about the carbon in what's being installed. So we'd find a lot of retention or reuse, etc. I can't speak for yourselves, but I imagine I know you're a very sustainable business, and you're conscious of those sorts of things. I don't want to be asking the questions now, but yeah, no, it's just in terms of your factory, your business. I know it's a very self-sufficient factory, but do you think it can go further as well on your side?
I would almost 100% definitely.
Yeah.
And
And the factory side, I suppose we've been on the journey for 20 years
Yeah,
with our wood waste burner and things. Now there's been add-ons, in terms of lighting and solar panels and all of that. And there's plans
Yeah.
to do more. But I think whenever we get into the reusable and the project specific product, I think there's a coming together needs to happen
yeah,
across the supply chain contractors to see what the solutions are.
yeah.
What does an architect accept as being something that's going to satisfy their need?
Yeah.
It's all right saying we'll reuse, doors, we'll reuse paneling, but you want it to be aesthetically pleasing
Yeah.
and you want it to attract.
Yeah, it's. I mean, long gone are the days of 25-year leases where it's installed and
Yeah.
that's that, and it's
Yeah.
someone else's problem essentially. Now, what are we 5 years, 5 years with a break, etc.
Yeah.
But we're still putting in feature joinery pieces that are very intricate.
Mm-hmm.
It's how can it essentially sometimes be disassembled
Mm-hmm.
and maintained and either relocated to another office or, again, like you say, maybe collected by yourselves and
repurpose.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Repurpose.
And that involves being in conversations very early on in the project.
Yeah,
Yeah,
developing that design detail.
that design.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is there a common thread here, Karen and Sean? Like when we're talking about apprenticeships, we're talking about an alignment between education and industry. And when we're talking now about driving the sustainability goals within the fit-out industry,
So partnerships.
is there a common thread of like partnership?
I think that industry,
definitely, yeah.
yeah.
And
I think it's something that we're particularly good at in this industry.
Yeah.
There is that collaborative approach. There's, like you say, we've delivered a number of projects alongside yourselves, and each time I hope just keeps getting better. As you build the relationships then, and you can deliver, and then that experience only promotes then more positive then for moving on to the next one. So I think it's key.
well, you made a point and you brought me right into the next question. And it's so interesting. What ingredient do you think you said this industry is particularly good at partnerships? So what ingredient is there that could be transferred to the education and the industry side?
Yeah. Agility, the speed at which this industry can react, and you've seen it through COVID, you've seen it through the experience over the last few years. It's that agility to react, and to move as like a project's needs change or the market shifts. I think the stumbling or possibly one of the challenges with the partnership with education is making changes at the speed at which they're needed. Currently where we're at, I think with supply and demand, I feel we're quite blessed again to be in a market that the demand is, it's quite a buoyant market. There's an opportunity there for growth for yourselves, and the speed at which we can do that is the perfect time for apprentices to rise, and to grow in the business and to take on more responsibility. So then that ingredient, I think,
Is it agility
I think it's the agility.
and the speed of movement?
I think a bit of innovation as well.
Yeah.
I think the ideas that some of these apprentices come in with are really, really smart. They're coming in a lot more aware of the impact of things on the wider world as well, and the local areas. So they seem to have more passion and more consideration for actions of themselves and their businesses, and they're not afraid to speak up anymore.
Yeah.
And with that comes fresh ideas that benefit everyone in the long run.
Yeah, and I suppose our responsibility in that is taking that idea and making it reality, giving them the scope to make it happen, really. So, yeah.
So probably one of my last questions of the day, you'd be very glad to know is, do you feel that these apprenticeships that we're having here in London, we're back home in Northern Ireland, do you feel that they're of a big benefit to the local community? And what do you feel the benefits are in the local community of that?
I think for us, as I mentioned before, the Construction Youth Trust, to help support younger people who aren't fully aware of the industry, to give them opportunities to learn about it and maybe find a career path at the age of 16, 17, 18. I think it's a massive benefit to let people know that it's not just the only university is not the only option, and there are ways to become professionals, get professional qualifications. And again, then if they bring that back to their local community, that they've found this opportunity, and awareness spreads. And that's the big thing I think we're trying to preach today, is awareness. It's awareness of these opportunities.
Yeah, awareness and our social responsibility. You know, if you're sitting in any home this evening and they have, as we do, have a child that's making choices now for university, you know, it's just a relationship that builds whenever the name specialist comes up, and we know that their investment, the level of investment that it is to offer apprenticeships, I think it can only do good in the community. You know, it'll draw employment from other areas because you're recognised as a business that invests in the talent and in the future. So I think it's all about how it'll help you grow the overall business.
So the overall picture is about people growth, then the business does well, then the local community does well. And when everybody's doing well, my grandfather used to say, there's less time for anybody to do ill.
Yeah.
If I could sort of recap, I would love you to jump on here and correct me, because we want to get the key messages out to you.
Yeah.
So we do feel that the two individuals we have here today have come through the apprenticeship route, both very happy with where you've ended up in life with it.
Yep.
And it's been great to have you on to get that experience. I hope it's okay for us to know the story, but there's so many here that don't know the story. So you would say that's a good route to employment. It's also a good route to bridge the gap in the construction industry and many other industries for that matter. We can't just block you in the construction. We feel it's good for communities. Good for our businesses, which can only be good for our economy, good for our futures. And can you elaborate on that any more? Like, so we're really selling here.
There's so many opportunities out there, and we just need people to understand where to find them. Because in construction, I think there is a job for everyone, depending on their skill set.
100%.
Practical, numbers driven, detail driven design, those sorts of things.
Yeah.
It's such a diverse industry. And I think
there's demand.
And there's demand.
And there's
as well.
demand, you know, so you're entering a field that you're studying, your education or your learning, there's an outcome.
Yeah.
You know, there's an outcome there that will have you in a career that is transferable skills. And
and I think there's the opportunity to just become more well-rounded, because you're going to be working with people from all sorts of backgrounds, all sorts of experience levels, all sorts of ages. And it's just, I think it's an incredible opportunity for anyone from 16 plus to just get out there, get some job, take some pride in what they do, and tell their friends about it.
Yeah.
And then hopefully it snowballs from there.
Yeah.
Sean and Karen, I must take this opportunity to thank you on behalf of Specialist Group. Thank you for coming on this episode of the Specialist View. It's been an absolute pleasure to see you give us the raw story of Sean and Karen and how that, and hopefully that will benefit many, many more for generations to come. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks.